Internet! Welcome to 2.5 Brains. This is our wrap-up of Survivor Season 39, the Season 39 post-mortem. We're going to talk all about Season 39, how it ended, how it went, what's coming up next, kind of a whole deep dive, look at the whole season, and kind of put the whole thing to bed so we can move on from it as we kind of need to. So, before I start, be sure to subscribe so you get all the updates. Got some big news coming up here at the end of the show, so don't miss anything. You're not going to miss what we're doing next, so definitely stay tuned. You can tweet me directly, Yo Grab a Gabba. You can find us on Facebook, facebook.com/PavementProductions. You can email the show, pavementproductions@gmail.com. And I said subscribe so you get all the updates all season long and all off season and everything else we have going on coming up here in just a little bit. Let me go ahead and bring in a co-host at this time, the lovely Jessica Terrassa. Jessica, welcome to the show.
Hello.
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 Jessica, how can you find you on Twitter?
Just T820.
Just T820. Whoa. Bailey, our other buddy's a little under the weather today. He'll be back next time. But he sends us his love. So let's go ahead and dive in here, talk a little about the season, the whole thing, how it went, and wrap up for the final time in 2019 here as we move into the new year. Mm-hmm. Obviously, hope everyone had a great Christmas. Obviously, the season ended a week before Christmas. We wanted to give it a little bit of time to kind of let everything, all the holidays and all that happen, and time to kind of digest the season. And we knew it was way too busy to try to put one in right before Christmas, so decided to let everything go. Kind of, we usually wait a week anyways after the season, but we're getting it out here, and we're gonna give us our final thoughts here on the season. Yeah. Sound good?
Yeah, I can see the Christmas lights right behind us in the window.
That's okay. Still festive.
Mm-hmm.
So just T820, tell us, give us your final thoughts on the season. What kind of your takes? Obviously, we have a little bit of a format here, but I'm not gonna go too crazy about it.
Meh. I don't know. The season was okay. It was not one of my favorites. Probably one of the least favorite that I've watched, and I haven't really watched a lot, so I know I don't have much to go on. But I think I had more potential. I'm not out of who was there. I'm happy with who won, but I just think how some of the things went. It just players control the show, so the decisions they made. Yeah. Okay. The decisions that they made were, I don't know, from an outsider's point of view, not the best to me, but the show's okay.
Let's start here. We can kind of start with the first topic here, kind of the good, the bad of the show. Obviously, the season, the good stuff, the bad stuff that came out of it. Mm-hmm. Obviously, there are always some positives, some things we take away that are good, some things maybe that we learn. And some things that we, that we don't really like, or things that we didn't really take away, we didn't really enjoy from the season, things that we, wished would have been done differently, or they could go back and change, or things that they should look at going forward. Couple pointers on that, I guess, as we look in that section here a little bit. I would say, as you kind of said, the final three, the right person won the final three.
Yeah, out of who ended up there, the right person won. But as you also had mentioned, usually the person that is taken with you to the end never has won. Never has yet. So for the first time.
For the first time, person won from the GOAT position. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. I really feel like they have potential with the theme, but I don't think they used it enough.
Yeah, no, definitely not.
It should have probably been at least on every episode, the Island of the Idols in some way. It just wasn't on there a lot. Only various times.
Yeah, I know at least 3 or 4 episodes they didn't use it. It's out of 13 episodes, not using your theme 3 or 4 times. Mm-hmm. Kind of what's the point?
Yeah, I mean, it should be incorporated for everyone. Every single episode. Even at the end, I thought they were going to... they stayed on the island, but I thought Sandra and Rob were going to be there with them. Yeah. At least maybe expanded that a little bit. Did another lesson with all 3 of them or 4 of them or whatever. Yeah. But, I don't know, it was okay. It wouldn't 5. It was 5. Final 5 at that point, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's so hard to say how things would have broken or whatever. the bottom line is,
That is Bailey scratching the other couch. In
Yes.
case anybody wants to know what that noise is.
yeah, he's trying to get comfy so he can sleep and get a nice night's sleep and feel better. So, a couple things to take away from the season. A couple of positives I had here. The casting is still overall pretty good.
But I loved all the women. Like, most of the women on this season were great.
And they've
But
been...
what happened?
Well, right. And the thing is, right, I think, though, I feel like if Survivor continues down this path with casting, so often Survivor focuses on casting good-looking people. And sure, yeah, you want to, people want to watch the show for you don't watch, any show with average-looking people, right? You want people who are good-looking people on your show, on your screen.
Well.
But the best seasons have the most average people. Mm-hmm. Don't get me everybody from LA and New York. I want a variety of people.
Right.
And I think if they continue to cast dynamic women, that's been the biggest struggle, I think, Survivor since the beginning, is casting women who are just kind of, bikini babe airheads, for lack of a better term.
Really doesn't make for great TV, though.
It doesn't. And, and it's, I think they did a good job casting dynamic, intelligent women this season.
Mm-hmm.
It happened to not work out. That a woman won. Yeah. I think the fire twist sucks. I think it still sucks. I think it's always gonna suck until they get rid of it. I think if they would have gone back to, if they would have gone back to, the original Final 3 idea or Final 2, which I've always been wanting is Final 2. Maybe that, there's a different outcome. Maybe if Dan doesn't get pulled from the game, it's a different outcome. Now, as reflecting on looking at it more and more, I think, I feel like there's more evidence to say that Dan is guilty of something. What it is, the exact details of whatever, I don't know. I do think he definitely is, guilty of something based on, kind of the lane apology he gave, and, kind of like saying, he brushing it off as if it's not a big deal, and it's like, well, maybe it's not, but maybe, but the people, the victim, it always is a big deal. So that was a big, black mark on the season. Just, all the nastiness, all the, off-camera stuff, all the behind-the-scenes drama just is not needed, and that's a bad look for a season.
I mean, it's all speculation with that, too. We don't really know, but yeah. Everything factors in. Even if the fire challenge wasn't there, things would have just been different, too. Lauren had a giant target on her back, Janet had a giant target on her back, and just people's thinking also, their influences. Nora picked who she picked because she thought, for whatever reason, she could be either of them, but, it's all was the jury's decision, obviously.
Yeah.
Their view on everything.
Certainly. And at the end of the day, who knows? Maybe we get down to Final 2 and Dean beats Nora at the end, and that's even worse.
Well, yeah, that would have probably been it, yes.
So, it's, who knows? It's tough to say. I feel like, at the end of the day, things we took away from the season, positives, the idea of a, Island of the Idols, extra twists, those kinds of things are always fun. More idols, add more randomness. I think, though, they should kind of ease back a little bit because I feel like, the good players are getting knocked out earlier and earlier, and you get to the end with less, than high quality players.
Island of Misfit Toys, like Rudolph that we just watched.
Exactly. So I feel like Bailey wants to play now, but I feel like there's too much of that now. There's too much randomness in the game, too much kind of whoever wins this, or happens to find this reward randomly, or find this advantage randomly, how it has all this power. And I feel like Island of the Idols would have been a nice way to have no immediate idols in the game, and then every time somebody goes, you'd use it every episode, and then
Yeah.
everybody has a chance at least to get an idol or an advantage of some kind every episode, and not having idols hidden also on the beach. I think there's kind of too much.
Yeah, but that also is how you take the title theme was the Island of the Idols because Robin Sandra, which is really
This is
what
what
it
it is,
was,
yeah.
or do you make it into like you said Island of the Idols where that's the only spot that you can get idols? I don't know because then that takes the searching out of the game if all you're doing is going there and winning idols from Robin Sandra too.
Yeah.
So that part they really couldn't take away actually finding him on the island.
Yeah, I mean that's true. I would a lot rather they say, okay, here's an idol you have to give away to somebody, or here's
Yeah.
a clue to an idol back at your camp that you maybe now you can go look for and find. Now you have an idea, like instead of just having oh, this is a weird looking tree, maybe it's probably hidden there. Having it
Yeah.
something where like okay, now it's actually buried somewhere. Now you actually have to go dig it up.
Yeah.
I don't know. Is that this season for me? I always kind of like to try to put them in an order or rank them or whatever, or kind of find a home for them. I guess you can say. For me,
Just like the island misfit toys.
right, exactly. For me, it's hard to say where this season ranks. I feel like we're kind of too close to it. Every time you look at a season, you can usually tell right away if it's going to be a great season. Right after the end, you can always tell if it's great or if it's kind of not so great. But the recency bias always makes it hard to actually pinpoint it, right? Mm-hmm. So I feel like of the most recent, let's say, since you started watching, since 35, what would you say is the best season since 35? Who was the best, like, which season, which winner, or whatever?
I mean, I think the one that you would go with is next season.
What would you say? That's absolutely what I would say, yes. What would you say?
Yeah. I mean, I could agree with that. Or I did like Wendell's season, even though it was kind of obvious who was winning and going to the end and everything. You're just waiting for someone to make a move. But next season probably would be number one. Nick, Wendell, then Ben, and then this one. Or wait, I'm missing one.
38. Chris and Devins and all that.
Oh, yeah. That one would probably be second last.
And then this one last?
And then this one last.
I would have to agree. I would say I would say it would be 37, then 35, then 30.
So Nick, Wendell, Ben.
Nick, Ben.
Oh, Nick, Ben, Wendell.
Probably Wendell, and then Chris, and then this one, which is a bit of a downward trend, unfortunately. But I would say too, the only problem with that season was the winner, and I feel like this one,
yeah, that's the only problem.
I mean, this season was great, except for,
the twist that made it kind of what it was.
Right. So, bottom line, I would say the season had a lot of problems. Everybody, there was a lot of good players, but they got knocked out early, kind of like Ghost Island. And then Ghost Island had over this one. It was the ending where it was the surprise tie and all that, and the excitement of that. And this one kind of had the same idea where there's a group of people went to the end, and then the leader got clipped at the end, and then we're down with three. One who who was kind of the second in command, the assistant coach, if you will, and then two coattail riders. And it didn't really have the excitement there.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's really hard to say. I feel like there's something that they need to really look at. Maybe some ideas they can play with. But I think at the end of the day, it comes down to casting the right people. Like I said, they cast better women this season. And I feel like if they do that more often, they'll have better results.
Yeah.
But like I said, the players are ultimately. If they make bad decisions, it's ultimately up to them. The best seasons are often the ones when the best players stick together, and then they're there at the end. And unfortunately,
everyone's so cutthroat this season.
Exactly.
Everybody was picked off one by one. Anybody that was worth anything.
It was like you said. I mean, the players always took each other out early. They're playing really hard, really fast, and I feel like maybe that's. Survivor always says, the producers always say, hey, you gotta make big moves, you gotta play hard every time, blah, blah, blah. And I feel like there's almost a detriment now. I feel like they maybe should ease back on that, because yes, it makes more exciting TV week to week.
I guess, but every single week it was, a big move, and different groups and everybody was playing with someone different. It was never really sticking with the same people consistently, except for a couple.
So I feel like there's a think tank project in there somewhere of because 31 there was like 2 or 3 there was like a bunch of pairs or triplets that stuck together, and it's this group of 3 with that group of 3 with that group of 3 that group of 3, and they're all competing with each other basically and fighting against each other. And that's and that was a great season.
Yeah.
That was all tourney season, but like that was a great season, and they always were. Each group was kind of the 30s. That was probably the first or second best season. Was 31. And because there was no set group of 5 who rode to the end. There was a group of 2 or 3, and then another group of 2 or 3, and they would work with this group for a while, then work with that group for a while, and everything like that. And that was exciting. And you also got a satisfying winner.
Yeah.
Whereas this season, it had a lot of kind of switching back and forth, but not really a satisfying conclusion because there's no real clear story arc that went through the whole season.
Right. I mean, I don't really know if everybody knew what an alliance was. Like, yeah, Tommy and Lauren worked together pretty much the whole season and stuff. But, like, Lauren was saying to Nora at the end, I understand why Nora, put Lauren in the fire making and whatever. But when Lauren's like, you said I'm your ride or die, and then you do this to me, it's like, I understand. But you know how it made me mad, how Nora was trying to be like, you should thank me for being here. Thank you for putting me in the fire challenge. Like, if you're an alliance, you figure you're being taken. But nobody would have beat her, so
right.
I know. But, like, just some of the thinking this season just didn't make sense to me.
Agreed. And there was a lot of stuff that was, that the players made moves that kind of didn't make a lot of sense. And it's one of those things where they feel like a lot of the players are making moves for the sake of making moves instead of making smart moves.
Their resume.
Yeah, and resume, that's garbage. You don't need to make big moves. You need to make smart moves.
You only need to make a resume if you're gonna get it to the end.
Right. Yeah, and so it's there's definitely a fine line, and players are able to make decisions they want. But I feel like at the end of the day, there's sometimes players make big moves and it's a very exciting season, and they get a very satisfying winner. Sometimes they make big moves and it's a terrible winner because all good players are taken out early. Sometimes everything happens and falls into place. I feel like that's why Nick's season was so great, because it gets to the final 6. There's really 4 people who had a shot to win the final 6.
Right.
And the smart players, the good players stuck together, and it went down the way it did.
Yeah.
So I feel like that's kind of what we need more of is, everybody's good, everybody knows the game, and and at the very least the strongest players know that the only way that one of them is going to win is if they stick together.
Yeah, I feel like I'd like it more, I guess, if I didn't know who's going to win. Like, you get to the end and there's a couple really good people.
Absolutely.
And you're not sure who's going to win because they both made moves. Like, everybody just kind of took each other that they thought sucked, but then someone was better than you by slightly a little bit, and then you still took, the one person that you chose to bring with you was better than all of you. So that didn't make any sense.
Right. So, and I feel like, that's kind of the benefit of the Dom Wendell season is because they had, even though it was, either Dom or Wendell's winning.
Yeah.
But it's, okay, now which one?
Right.
At least there was that.
I mean, that one was exciting, though. Laura was the deciding vote, and she was in the final 3,
right.
so that was pretty cool.
There's always that kind of stuff. We don't have more time on it, I don't think. But I think the whole point of this is, I think we have to find that balance of exciting television, where it's not boring every week, and it's the same alliance picking off the next, picking off people, picking off moving over the line, but also that it's the smart moves and it's strategic moves where you get to the end and now, okay, it makes sense how the person won. Jeff Probst saying we had the best crop of women we've ever had. I don't think the fact that a man won negates that.
Yeah.
I think it was a strong crop of women. I think it was a strong crop of of players that just happened to get picked off early. Christian was a good player, but he got picked off too early. It's just kind of the way it is. But you have to have your the alliance. You have to have the social capital and that kind of stuff to get to the end, and have a shot to win. So it's a difficult line, and sometimes they do it great. We're kind of in a thing now where the early 20s of Survivor was pretty bad. Except for 20, 21, 22, 23, 24 weren't great. 25 was pretty good, and then we kind of went back and got better from there. Whereas now this also is the first season with no 3 teams in the whole all the 30s. We've had at least 3 tribes in every season of the 30s, except for this one. So again, it's a little bit interesting. I don't know if that played a factor or not. Who knows? But the bottom line, at the end of the day, we had too many things that didn't that were kind of left up to chance, and bad decisions were made by players who really didn't know the game that well, and that ultimately, I think that ultimately hurt.
Yeah.
Any other thoughts?
No, I think we talked about it.
I think we talked way too much. Let's go ahead and move on to the next section.
Tommy as a winner.
So let's talk about Tommy as a winner. Obviously, we've had some great winners, some bad winners. And the season ultimately, I think, is a reflection of that. I mean, with Chris winning last season, it was kind of like, all right, the season was pretty good, but the twist made it very little sense. And now Chris wins, and there should be something. You should have to do something to win Survivor,
right?
Not play 11 days,
right?
What about Tommy?
I also feel he's kind of like a winner. He did stuff. It's not that he didn't, but it was always something that he did with Lauren, and I feel like it was her that was mostly starting it. I don't really see that he, I don't know, did a lot. Like, nothing to me was his original idea to do. I can't recall anything like that. He helped Dean or like influenced him to use the nullifier and stuff like that, and he had really good social ties and stuff, and that's what got him to the end. But for me, I like to see a little bit more strategic stuff in place. Just at least one thing that you can say that you did on your own that stuck out.
I mean, for me, the thing that Tommy did, the reason he won the game is because he aligned with Lauren. He went deep enough with her as far as he could go, and then she got knocked out by really no fault of his.
No.
And he won the game. He wanted to get her out. He got her out, and everything worked out.
He didn't get her out. Someone got her out, but yeah.
Well, yeah, he wanted to get her out, and she got knocked out. He did say he shifted the focus off of himself onto Lauren, and Lauren became public enemy number 1 and got taken out. That was ultimately what it came down to.
Right.
Is if Lauren would have said, "Hey, we can beat Tommy," and they would have believed her, then Tommy probably goes out, and Lauren probably wins.
Right.
If it was said, "Hey, you're a Dean," whatever. But at the end of the day, he was the second biggest threat in the game, and got rid of the first biggest threat in the game with no time left to get rid of him.
He was never really at one point. Well, he was. Elizabeth, Missy, and Aaron saw him as a really big threat, and Elaine, but it wasn't lasting very long. It kind of shifted all over the place to everyone else, and then to Lauren. So he was kind of just not seen as big of a threat as she was. Obviously.
So he walked that fine line. The credit he deserves is he walked that fine line of, hey, I need to keep somebody around who's a bigger threat than me, but also not letting the person get to the end because that person beats you, right?
Right.
So that's what the credit I think he deserves, is that he had the strong people with him. He at least one strong person to be that shield, and then got her out. Not necessarily his fault, whatever, but she got knocked out, and he was the only one left standing who could with a shot to win.
Right.
He went to the other 2 people who couldn't win, and he went to the final 4th with one other person who could beat him. If somehow she wins a fire challenge, wins immunity, he loses, and he looks like an idiot for not making a move.
Right.
But he didn't need to make any really moves because all he had to do was get the other 2 people he could beat, and he did. So it is what it is. Again, not my favorite season, not the best winner ever. I always like the person who was ahead. I always want the Tony Vlachos winner or the Kim Spradlin winner, the winner who has control from day one, and then they dodge and weave, and there's bullets flying at them all the whole season, and they somehow duck and get out of the way, and are at the end. And you're like, whoa, you're mad because wow, they should have got taken out, but at the same time you're like, wow, they played such an amazing game. It becomes almost boring because they're the ones who's like, wow, they should. Well, obviously they're gonna win. They get to the end, and then they get and they win, or you'd rather have the person who, you don't think is gonna win, pop up and win at the end. It's hard to kind of walk that line again. But I think you always want the person who is at the very least overtly pulling the strings. The Adam Klein, Adam, who's obviously a man of next season, there showed in the preview. He was always the one who was always making the moves with somebody else, and then they would get taken out, and he would not take the heat, and then somebody else would make the move, he'd jump on with them, and they'd make the move together. Then they'd get taken out, and he'd go. He was always the second command to everybody who was in charge. Whereas Tommy was second command to one other person, and that person got taken out. So Tommy, I don't think had as much agency as some players in the game, but he did what he needed to do to win. So you can't begrudge him on that. Is he going to go out as the greatest winner of all time, greatest Survivor player of all time? No, things worked out for him in this season. If Tommy would be to play again, I think he would have. I don't think he'd be an overt threat and go up immediately because nobody really takes him that seriously. But at the same time, I don't think he could replicate the game he played this time. I mean, it just kind of he just happened to fall his way. I think. Any other comments or thoughts on Tommy? It's kind of hard to put it all in perspective, I think, but
No, I don't know what kind of winner I like because I don't like people that control it from the beginning because those people frustrate me because they take over right away. So, I mean, I liked Ben's season and Nick was good too and stuff like that. I don't know.
It's hard to say.
I haven't watched it long enough to see, but I can't stand people that come in and control it because, like Molly, she got taken out right away.
Yeah.
Once you deem yourself of controlling the game, everyone wants you out. I want you out too because you just act arrogant. I can't,
Yeah.
I can't stand arrogant people.
Well, congratulations to Bailey to be back for picking the winner. Didn't think he would. I mean, he had 2 left to the final 12.
I had most of my team for the entire season, but it's okay.
It is what it is. Neither one of us had the winner pick, but I think it was Tommy was one of his last picks, who wasn't? I feel like, but
I don't think so. I think he was early.
Second or third.
Yeah.
Either way,
Maybe.
So bottom line, that's the way I see it too. I feel like the winner I want to see is Adam Klein, who's in on every move. You see how he's there. Mm-hmm. You see he's kind of like, oh, okay, I can see how that was Zeke and Adam's move, but mostly Zeke's move. And then, that was Will and Adam's move, but mostly Will's move. But that was David and Adam's move, mostly David's move. But again, they're kind of linked to everybody who's making the moves. Yeah. Every move that's happening, they're in on, but they're not the person. Mm-hmm. And then the person who's out, Adam was always the one who's like, two of them were making the moves, and he'd pull them in front of him and hit the bullet. Mm-hmm. That's kind of the winner I like to see.
Yeah.
Who's involved in the whole season, but maybe not out front.
Right.
Yeah. And that's kind of the winner I like to see. And Tommy kind of just kept learning from him the whole time, and kept her as a threat. And then eventually, when she got taken out, there's no time left to take him out. Now, if it was a final 2, Tommy probably gets knocked out next.
Yeah.
And we're at the end with freaking, God forbid, Nora and Dean.
And then Dean wins, and then everybody's mad.
Right. So at the end of the day, he made the right move to get himself at the end. He went to the end with 2 people who couldn't win, and he won the game. So good for him. That's why he won the game. That's why he deserved to win the game.
Oh yeah.
It just wasn't.
It wasn't an exciting season.
Wasn't really an exciting season. Yes, like you said, and everybody who were rooting for. They told Tommy's story, but they really didn't. I mean, they didn't give us a lot to go on with Tommy.
Yeah.
He was always just kind of, Tommy's still there. That's cool. Mm-hmm. But there's all these, and maybe that's part of the problem too. There's all these very deep storylines and very, I feel like Survivor is not a social experiment. Survivor is a game of strategy. Mm-hmm. And as soon as they can stop trying to be a social experiment and talk about social issues and just let the game be played, I think they'd be better off. I really think they kind of went too far, in this one. I mean, they the whole Brandon Hance, mental health evacuation thing, and now the Dan thing, getting ejected from the game. I feel like if Survivor would just stop trying to be something that's not, go back to being a game show of strategy.
Game show.
A show of
Price is Right. Got it.
Whatever.
I know.
But you know what I'm saying. It stop trying to be a social change artist. Just kind of let the game be played organically, and the players deserve to win $1 million for playing the right strategic game.
If they're gonna do that, they should mix it and be more of a survival part to it then.
Absolutely.
If you want to, that'll be less of a social experiment if you're concentrating, I guess, on survival. I don't know.
And I said, if you want to, have it be more, I think, I personally, the big fans, super fans, are always, show me more strategy, show me more strategy, show me more strategy. Well, I don't really personally want to be given a lesson on these topics. If I wanted a lesson on that, I'd go get a lesson on that somewhere else. I want to get away from that stuff and focus on kind of a strategy game I can wrap my head around. That's really, I think that's, if they go back to that, I think we're gonna have a lot more success. It was a social experiment the first 6 times they did it. After that it was just a game show, and that's kind of where I would like to go back to.
Yeah.
When it's at its best, it's a game with twists, but the producers aren't involved as much. It's just kind of, hey, here's what we're gonna do. There's twists, there's advantages, there's stuff like that, and if you find the advantage, you play it right, you can win the game. If you avoid the target, get taken out, you can win the game. I don't want to hear about all the other social and things going on. Just make it a strategy game and leave it at that.
Mm-hmm.
So that's my little rant, but I think we can move on. I think we're good. What's next?
Who should return?
So looking at the cast of who played the season, who should come back? Who's most likely to come back? Like let's pick one person each who you think is the most likely player to return for another shot at the game. Who, like for example, if we looked at last season, who, if you had to pick anybody off that cast who's going to come back and play again, Devins. Who's the Devins of the season?
Lauren.
Probably Lauren. Is there okay? So Lauren's is number one to come back. I mean, again, they have brought back the first person vote out before,
right?
So there's really no. I mean, if the theme is right, if the idea is right or whatever, they can bring back anybody. So there's really nobody who's like, no chance in hell they're ever coming back.
Yeah.
I didn't think Francesca Hoagie would ever come back. She did. And, we all know what happened. So the fact of the matter is, anybody can come back. But I would say most likely come back Lauren, who's like the second tier of like, yeah, maybe the theme's right. Maybe if they come back, then maybe there's another returning player season. Maybe if there's a second chances 2. Maybe if there's a fans are favorites 3. Who then is like in that next crop? Janet, okay. Who else? Anybody else? Anybody else is like
I'd
really?
say like my top 3 would probably be Lauren, Janet, and then maybe Elizabeth.
Okay.
But I feel like for me it would be any of the women on the show that would most likely come back.
And I think there's a few who I would definitely rule out. I wouldn't want to see back. I really would. I mean, Nora, it's funny, cool, whatever. But I think her
wasn't even that funny.
Yeah, I know. I think
Occasionally.
Like, I think they need that kind of person on the show once in a while. So they really were desperate for that. They could bring her back. But I feel like there's a better strategic player who also is that character. So Krishma never wanted to make a move. Just was always seeing herself as the odd person out. I'm kind of over that. Elaine, maybe. But I'd rather see Lauren Rimmer because she's more of a... Elaine's kind of a Lauren Rimmer to me from Ben's season. And I think Lauren's did it better still. I still think Lauren's the best of that archetype to ever play. So I'd rather see Lauren than Elaine. Elaine had a lot of potential early on, then just I mean, by episode 10, we're like, who's Elaine?
Right.
Episode 1 or 2, yeah, she was the star. But after that, she fell apart. Janet, sure, yeah. Elizabeth, maybe Missy.
Yeah.
They were strong, powerful, forces in the game. And then it's funny because there's really no guys who really jump out at me like, oh, I want to see them again. The only guy, the only guy who I felt like, was really anywhere halfway decent was Aaron, and then Tommy.
Yeah.
I mean,
I wouldn't want to see Aaron probably back, but he could be one that returns.
If the season's right, yeah.
I mean the controversy and stuff, but even maybe Kelly.
Yeah, sure. I mean, why not? I feel like unfortunately her story is now that, and she's now the.
I don't think she would come back.
She's now the Zeke, right? Zeke can never win now because of Zeke being out on TV. Zeke's now the compassionate love. Everybody loves Zeke. Everybody did love Zeke, but now everybody really loves Zeke, and he's like, see, he could ever play the game because nobody ever let him get close to the end because it's like, yeah, but everyone wants Zeke to win.
It's kind of like returning players, half returning and half not, though. Like, nobody's ever going to let returning players get to the end. that aren't returning players.
Right. So the only way returning players win is if they
come back with more returning players.
Right,
all returning players.
Like Caramoan, where it was fans versus favorites, and the fans were not fans; they're fools, and they got just decimated. And then they got to the merge, and there was like 3 of them left, and they got picked off. Right. So that's the only way a favorite can really, a big time, and the biggest threat in the game won that game, just because, there was nobody else left. So yeah, I mean, I don't know. I think if you ask me who would I would like to see back, one of the top women on the show, Elizabeth, Missy, Janet, Kelly, maybe Elaine, but other than that, there's really, really nobody else who really jumped at me. It was a little bit frustrating because there were so many people I was rooting for, and all these, I felt so confident that woman was going to win the season, and they were only people who had any really part of the show were women.
Yep.
And then a dude still ends up winning. It's just kind of like, ugh.
No, they had the perfect chance to form their girls' alliance.
They should have
talked about it, and then girls were girls.
And the thing is, right, and that's, I feel like you'll meet Parvati next season, but that's what she did so well is she kept all the different she kept women's alliances together every time she played, and it's the hardest thing to do because men's alliances happen every season and nobody talks about them. Women's alliances are such a unique thing, and they never last. But I feel like that's one thing that Parvati was able to do. Sandra was able to do very well. Most women who win Survivor win because they align with other women.
Also, those seasons were older, and it was a different time, different technology, and everything else. So times have changed, and the way women relate to each other have also changed.
Parvati's 30-something years old and a mom now and married. She's not 20-something like she was the first time she played.
Right.
It's very, very different. There are different people. So I'm interested to see how they do.
I just mean in general.
But in general, you're right.
Like women today, I know I don't get along with all women. It's just everybody has their personalities, and some are stronger and some aren't, and technology and social media, and that just has so much influence on people's lives that it's hard to get along with everybody, I guess.
Absolutely, and I feel like that would be really nice. I would love to see that because when Kim won, she went the final 4 of 4 women, and she dominated that season. Parvati won the final 4 Parvati season, 4 women. Look at most winners who are women. They go to the end with other women.
Right.
And that's just the way. That's the smartest way to do it. And they had their chances. They had alliances formed, and then the big moves took over. Big move era. This is big moves. Turn on your allies before they turn on you. How about you go to the end, go to the final, get rid of all the dudes, then turn on your allies.
Yeah.
I'd love to see it happen, and we'll see what happens going forward. But that's kind of I think they had the chance this season, and it kind of slipped away. But I think they had the right idea. They just didn't execute it correctly.
Yeah.
And I'd like to see if they learn from those mistakes and come back, and it's like the final 8 or 8 chicks. That'd be pretty cool. Yeah. Let's go ahead and talk about. I think we have one more section here.
What's to come in 2020?
Yeah. So what's to come in 2020? So that is obviously the next topic. Obviously, the main thing here is Survivor winners at war. So that's coming up 2020. 40th season. Who would have thought? 20 years of Survivor. It's been on the air since 2000. And 2020, they got their 40th season of all winners. Returning players, all winners. What do you think? Tell me. I know more of the players, obviously, than you do, but tell me about it.
I say what came to mind for me is, do you think this could possibly be the last season of Survivor? Since it's 40 seasons, 20 years, things are starting to get a little rocky, and maybe they want to end it with who they deem are their top winners of the whole thing and go out like that. What are your thoughts?
It's funny. I remember hearing an interview with Lynn Spillman, who's actually no longer with the show. She said, "We gotta get to 40 because I gotta put my kids through college." It was silly. She also ran the Amazing Race and everything. But they did. And 40 was, season 30 was an all new player cast. They said yes, it's season 30, but it's Mark Burnett said yes, it's 30, but it's only season 30. And I don't know if they're looking at that same way with 40. Maybe it's season 40, so it's a big deal. Big 20 was all returning player season, and it was a top 3 season ever. 30 was just 30. 40 is another big deal season. But is it that kind of like a big one final grand finale of a season? I don't know. I haven't heard
this
anything.
This is all returning winners.
Yes.
Has there been an all returning winners
Never.
before? That's why my vision, at least, I feel like for me, if you're gonna go out and you're gonna end the show, I would end it with this.
Certainly. Certainly, absolutely. I haven't heard anything about 40-41. I feel like the ratings are still where they are. I feel like they're kind of slipping based on all this nastiness that people don't want. People don't want on their TV screen. I mean, people want to be if I want to watch drama, I'll watch a drama. I'm not here to watch a drama. I'm here to watch what I feel is like a strategy game, and that's an adventure game, and that's not really what this it is right now. And I think if they go back to that, I think they can go for another 10, 20 seasons, and be it Survivor, be it 20 freaking 30, and talking about Survivor season 60, and that would be pretty bananas. Yeah, I know. To me, there's enough good, enough bad. I think they need to make some changes. I don't think they're gonna make it too many more seasons at the rate they're going. 24 was kind of like that. It was a great winner and a horrendous season, and they made some changes the next season, and I feel like that's the beginning of what several great seasons in a row, and things really went well. So I think they could end it here, and it would be. Fine, especially if it's a good season with a good ending. I feel like a good winner, a good everything. I feel like that's where you want to be.
Right.
That being said,
I mean, we'll see. I feel like you said, though, I would never want to end a show with something bad.
Go out with a whimper.
Right. You want to go out with something good, even if the ratings are high. I mean, look at TV. One of my favorite shows got canceled for no apparent reason. It was hilarious, high ratings, everybody thought it was funny, and then they just canceled it. So I mean, it's not stuff doesn't get canceled just because it starts going down. They just feel like they've run their course.
Right. Seinfeld the same way. It was a top rated show. He went out. And
so I mean, it just something that I thought about because of even numbers and all and such, and all returning winners. But it'll be interesting because, like you said, I don't know most of these players. I really like Rob and Sandra just from this show, and I really didn't get to see much of it. Of them, but I think it'll be good.
Yeah, their dynamic's pretty great. They're always fun.
Yeah, they're funny.
I feel like it's kind of the same about The Walking Dead. Like, just end it before it gets canceled. End it before they take it from you.
That's what I mean. Like, I would rather see this end at a top note where people can still talk about it and not be like, the last season was so terrible, I couldn't wait till they canceled it.
Right.
Yeah,
and I said, I mean, I don't know. I mean, I feel like this isn't the plan to end it now. I feel like they are planning on shooting, 30, 41, 42, whatever. But it's interesting, and I feel like I feel like this is going to be a kind of a make or break season. We haven't had an all returning player season since 34. That season was okay. 31 was great, but that was now 10 seasons ago almost, right? I mean, So for me, this is going to be a really key, crucial season. They did say coming up, it's the Edge of Extinction is coming back. I heard.
Oh really?
I hope not.
For the returning one, yeah.
Ugh. Why would you do that? Did you learn nothing?
I'm sure they're gonna change it.
I hope so. God, I hope so. Ugh.
There's got to be something different about it, or why would you reuse what
didn't work?
What the thing was, yeah.
I don't know. I wonder if they're stuck in their own little bubble and they think everything they do is great. Unless they're not actually listening to what the fans want. I don't know. But long story short, 40 is coming up in February. I think a lot of the winner. I'm really excited to see a lot of returnees. We know the cast. It's pretty much a lot of modern winners. It's if you look at who played recently. I mean, it's return of Tyson Apostle. Yeah, return of Tyson Apostle and Tony Blackos and Natalie Anderson and
Mike Tyson.
No, and Jeremy Collins and Michelle and
Collins.
A lot of famous returning players. Adam and
Levine?
Yes.
Is there gonna be a lot of singing on this show?
Maybe. And Sarah Lucina and
John Cena?
No. And then the ones that you watch, with Ben and Wendell, all them, So it's gonna be a good crop.
Uncle Ben.
I hope he makes some great rice.
White rice.
Yeah, white rice Wednesdays. But I feel like the opportunities are there for a real good season. So we'll see. At the very least, I've been looking for a new season. Or return player series because we already know the players are there. You already know they're already established. You don't have to spend that much time establishing them because we already know who they are. Now you just focus on the game. And ideally, if they're all winners, it should be very high-level gameplay, and that would be really exciting. But Sandra was the only 2-time winner. Maybe she'll be the only 3-time winner. Or maybe there'll be another 2-time winner. I always want Sandra to win. I'm always rooting for Sandra. She's, elite. But we'll see. We'll see what it is. I could see it being somebody who, Danny Boatwright, she played before. Oh, she won before. Oh, she won twice now. I can see it with one of those people, or Rob's wife, Amber comes out and wins. I can see that happening too. Absolutely.
Or Ben wins again.
Yeah, I could really see somebody being somebody who's like people are like not even really sure who that person is, and now they've won twice. So I can definitely see it. We'll have our winner picks our season breakdown. We'll have you back. Give us some of his wisdom and how he won, and maybe put something on the line this time. But we'll talk about it. It's gonna be fun. We'll talk about it in February. We'll get our preview. We already know the cast. We can start talking about the cast whenever.
You know the cast.
Yeah, we already. Well,
I don't really know the cast.
Well, we know who's gonna be on it.
Well, yes.
So we can break it all down and kind of go through it line by line as that time gets closer. But for now, let's wrap up the season. We already spent more time than I wanted to on the season that was because it wasn't. It wasn't my favorite season by any means, but. Put it to bed and move on and see what comes up next time. Any final thoughts on the season before we wrap up?
No, I think we talked enough.
I think we did. So, how do people find you on Twitter?
Just T820.
Just T820. I'm Yo Grabba Gabba. You can tweet me there. You can also email the show paperproductions@gmail.com. Facebook.com/paperproductions is our Facebook page. And you can subscribe right below on the bottom of the screen there. So you don't miss anything. Give us your thoughts, comment, share your opinions, tell us what you want to talk about, and kind of who you agree with, and who you want to pick for next season, who you kind of think is going to be, who you're excited to see back, and whatnot. I'm thinking about maybe doing some off-season stuff, maybe maybe casting a returning player season of like a Fans vs. Favorites 3, or a Heroes vs. Villains 2. Or another second chance season, maybe. I'm kind of interested to see kind of where, what other returning player seasons we can come up with. I really kind of think we're due for a couple more returning player seasons in the next few years if we do have more seasons. And I think bringing back good players would really be a fun way to do it. Kind of like an all-star, but an actual all-star. It's not just people who are entertaining to watch. People who are actually who are good at the game. So we'll see. I'm interested to see about that. Other than that, one other thing we're talking about, there's a couple other shows that are coming out we're going to kind of spend some time with, including Jessica, if you want to go ahead and make the announcement. One more show that we're going to be covering this season, trying to get the show out. It's on the same night as Survivor, so we're going to have to figure out how we're going to do it. But we have another show we're going to try to talk about coming up and recap it and break it down week to week. And that show is...
one of my favorite shows, The Masked Singer.
Awesome. Really excited about it. I watched it this season. Got really into it. She got me hooked on that one. I got her lukewarm on Survivor. She got me hooked on Masked Singer. So
yeah, this one didn't like the preview and thought it was dumb, and then watches it and now wants to watch the first one, even though I already told him pretty much who everybody is. But the first one was great. This one was pretty awesome. I love guessing, and I love the singing and the music, and it's just great. I love it. So
we'll kind of see how we're going to do it. It's obviously something a little bit different. The only shows that I've ever covered our Survivor Amazing Race, and I actually did a 24 thing once, and I did Celebrity Apprentice. So it's something kind of not. It's still reality TV, but it's a little bit off that too. So we're excited to see kind of how we can do this. Kind of play with it a little bit and see what we want to do. When we're going to record, when we're going to talk about it, and we may bring out other shows too. Okay, see how it goes. But I'm definitely excited for it. I'm excited for Masked Singer in February. Excited for Survivor as well in February. In the meantime, try to come up with some other things I can get out, even some little videos just for you guys to listen to in the off season. Anything else, Jessica?
I think we've talked everyone's ear off.
I think we have.
Or you.
I have.
Mainly you.
I'm sweating through this fleece, so I'm going to shut this off and edit this and go to bed.
You're actually going to shut up now?
Until you get to hear my wonderful voice again, at least in February, if not sooner. Good night for now.
Good night.
And we've got nothing else for you.
So long.
For the final time,
Farewell.
Survivor 39.
Auf Wiedersehen, goodbye.
The Travis Open.